I want to welcome each of you back to the Dang Right, a Melissa Football podcast with Coach Nally. I'm your host, Coach Nally. I want to thank Mr. Kramen and the duo of Max and Shipp for putting on this podcast. Max and Shipp are like the duo of Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. They're always on the right path. Now, on to our guest. Our guest today is someone I've known and watched grow up in this profession as a coach for about 8 or 9 years now. I've been so proud of his development and his growth in this profession. I'm super excited about this guest. Today's guest is Coach Chris Phelps. Coach Phelps, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Dang right, dang right, dang right. All right, first question is always the same first question. Give us the life story of Christopher Phelps.
Well, I was raised in Little Elm, Texas, where my parents still live there. I mean, I go back often to have dinner with them or whatever. That's where I went to school all my life. And when I graduated from there, I bounced around 2 different colleges until I ended up at Arkansas Pine Bluff, University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, where I played baseball. I met my wife while I was in college. And then, I have a wife and a dog for my wife and I will be married 4 years now.
That's awesome.
In December.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, man. So what got you into education? Like why the education profession?
Really, I've always wanted to, growing up, you have a dream of playing professional sports. And when I realized at one point, like, that's probably going to be really hard to do, I'm going to try, but it's really going to be hard to do. I knew I wanted to be involved in sports. I couldn't be at a 9-to-5 just sitting behind a desk, and that's not how I can't operate like that. So I knew I had to do something with sports, so that was coaching. I didn't want to teach. I wanted to originally coach college baseball, and I tried to pursue that, but it didn't work out because they don't pay anything. And so I decided to get my alternative certification and get into education, and it's been the best job. It's a dream job, honestly.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to throw you a curveball here. So I'm a big proponent of, obviously, of coaches' wives and coaches in general and whatnot. And, we're into fall camp right now with the freshmen and with the JV and the varsity. All the hours that have been put in, okay, and we've been getting after it now, 8 days with the freshmen, actually 9 with the freshmen, and going on 3 with the JV and the varsity. Like, how is your wife and you personally, how have you adapted? How has she adapted with, the summertime, you get kind of some time off a little bit, and now you're, knee deep in it again. Like, how have y'all adapted with the sacrifice of times?
Yeah, I mean, it's been an adjustment. At first it was difficult, not being at home a lot. And our relationship started as a long distance relationship. So, I'd only travel to see her every once in a while. So that we were used to. But then when we moved in together, it was kind of like, all right, we like this. This is fun to be able to see each other all the time. Well, then out of nowhere, it turned into I'm gone all the time.
Right.
And I'm down the road.
Right.
It's been difficult, but I mean, each year she's adjusted and I mean, she's amazing. She takes care of everything at home while we're at work.
Right.
And really, it's more like we have to communicate a lot more, which has made us closer in our marriage because of that time piece of it. But she knows why I do it, and that's the biggest thing. She knows why I'm here, what I'm doing it for.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like a coach's wife. There's
100%.
nothing like it. I mean, coaching wives are the most special thing within our profession, just because of the fact of they're there for the good times and the bad times and all the in-betweens, and they're the kind of the unsung heroes of our profession. So just curious, I mean, I remember being a young coach and being in a situation where my wife being young and just that whole dynamic of not being around.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And just that. So, okay, man. So let's discuss pitching in the SEC. You talked about going to Pine Bluff and pitching there. There's some great stories of you pitching in the SEC. So, man, let's hear about it.
First of all, I want to say against the SEC.
That boy.
Totally different athletes play in the SEC.
I got you.
I mean, I was a very I wouldn't even say I was average. I was below average pitcher at the Division I level. It's very difficult, and baseball already is hard. I threw very, very slow.
All right.
So because of that, guys that were really, really good did not adjust well.
Dang right.
So I would pitch better in midweek games, non-conference games, and that's usually when I would throw. It's because this guy can get their timing off and he throws slow, and so a lot of guys will say I throw hard and then I throw harder, and well I throw it slow and slower. I mean I threw a pitch one time at 47 miles an hour and I got a guy out. So
Dang
I mean,
right.
and he's All-American. That's
Dang right.
But I mean it's a lot of fun. I mean that's the thing is that that's one place in the world where you can be the most alone ever, and you kind of go into a different mindset that really you don't get outside of doing that. You don't really get that in the real world.
Right.
And so, and it's lonely when you got thousands of people and you're on television and you got people at home watching and you're trying not to get embarrassed.
Right.
That's your goal at that point. Forget winning. Don't get embarrassed.
Okay, so let's talk about those embarrassing moments because there's got to be an embarrassing moment.
There is one.
Let's hear
so
about it.
I started against Missouri one time, and I knew, and my family is from Missouri, so like they're big Mizzou fans.
Dang right.
Yeah, so they're all big Mizzou fans, and it's on television, and so everybody can watch it. And I knew going into it, and I couldn't. When you can't throw a ball, that's not good. I couldn't throw. I was throwing strikes, and at this point, I'd started. This was probably my third or fourth start of the season, so they had the whole book on me. They knew what I was going to do, and they had a really good hitting coach that year, and boy, they lit me up. I mean, it was. I got out. I think I got into the third inning, and then it was bad, and so I got out, and I went in the locker room, and I destroyed it. I couldn't help it. I was like, man, that's embarrassing. But yeah, that's
you know what those moments right there help us grow.
Oh, 100%.
You know, and help us. And I firmly believe in the saying, "You never lose, you learn."
Oh, yeah.
So I'm sure that was a learning situation for you. But man, I'll be honest with you listeners. I don't know if you've ever seen Coach Phelps, but he's not a huge human being. And to pitch, and then pitch against SEC competition, that's a big time kudos to Coach Phelps and the type of pitcher and baseball player he was back in the day. All right, Phelpsy, you've grown up in this profession as a Melissa Cardinal. Okay. What are your favorite moments? This is a two-parter. Favorite moments as a Cardinal, and why stay so long?
Favorite moments, I think, I believe it was 2021 baseball season when me and Coach Hamilton, we went to the fourth round of the playoffs.
Dang right.
The year before was COVID, so that was my first full year with the baseball going to be the first full year, and it got cut short. So that'll forever be in my mind, like what we were able to do that year, that group of kids. And another one's it's positive, but at the same time it has a negative. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget the Salina game when a referee died and came back.
Yeah, we've talked about that on this podcast before. Yep.
That will never leave my mind. And then like 10 minutes later, we go from like a guy just died to Brendan Lewis 90-something yards later, and or 4th and 1, stop him.
Yep.
Dude dies, 4th and 1, we stop him, and then 90-something yards. The up and downs of that emotions. I mean, I can't even describe it. It was crazy.
Yeah. I'm sitting there, and when I was thinking about this question, I have a million great memories of Melissa athletics. So, I remember the baseball team beating Sunnyvale in the playoffs. I thought that was huge. A cool moment. Obviously, I have a million with football, but when track won the 4x1 and the state championship, I thought that was pretty neat and pretty awesome. Obviously, this last year, I thought the way that the softball season ended at the state championship, but the catch at the end of the game to end it, I thought that was an awesome moment in Melissa athletics history. But why stay so long, bro?
I mean, I think everybody has a little bit of comfort. It's easy to be comfortable in a position. I mean, I know a lot of people here. I mean, I know people in the community. My wife and I live here. All these kids, and that kind of adds something to it. I think everybody likes comfort.
Absolutely.
You don't like to be uncomfortable necessarily, but at the same time, like early in my career, I was trying to figure out who I was as a coach and a teacher.
Right.
And this place has proven to show us that they'll help you grow. They care about us.
Right.
We have great leadership, great community support, great kids. I mean, you don't get that.
Right.
I mean, yeah, winning's awesome, but
Right.
you hear these horror stories at other places, and it's kind of, it makes you think twice.
Right.
Right. And it's not even the facilities. That's not even but like 5% of what you
cherry
have.
on top.
Yeah, and you can't top the kids here. I mean, that's what keeps you where you're at,
Right.
and all the support we get. We get taken care of pretty good, I think.
You ain't lying, man.
It's pretty awesome.
I've been doing this for 22 years, and there's no other support like here. And like I said, everyone talks about the facilities, man. It's about the people inside the facilities. It isn't really about just the facilities itself. Good answer, Coach Phelps. Let me ask you this, man. Coach Nigel Smith coached you in school. What's your best memory of him as a coach?
Man, so
all right.
I got a couple. He was mainly our basketball coach, and I didn't get a lot of minutes.
Oh, dang!
Our basketball team was I think it was our 5 starters in 7th and 8th grade ended up starting a game. We called them a Fab Five as freshmen.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a lot of minutes. I had done something in class. I don't know what I did. I don't remember what I did. I got in trouble. Well, that turned into like a week straight of, I wasn't getting in the game, so it didn't matter. Mm-hmm. But that turned into a week straight of towel pushes.
All right.
The entire practice.
Dang right.
And on the first day, he told me, and you listen to Coach Smith. I mean, he's
of course,
you're
yes,
gonna
absolutely.
You're gonna listen to him.
Yes.
And so he told me, you're not done until I tell you you're done. So I took it. I did what I was told.
Right.
And I look up. Everyone's already changed and walking the second period, and I'm over here still doing towel pushes. I'm like, I don't know. And he forgot. He forgot that I was doing towel pushes, and so I missed second period doing towel pushes. And then I turned out to be his boss one year. That was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was the coordinator. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I mean, I didn't even know until he started working here, because he was my coach. You don't just ask coaches questions like this. But I didn't even know he had just got done playing professional basketball.
Oh, really?
And we played a student faculty FCA basketball game, and boy, he was throwing alley-oops. So he looked like LeBron to us. We were like, this is unreal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll never forget that either.
My favorite one is I knew him for maybe like 2 or 3 weeks. And it was junior high had just started, and he had a kid that was doing up downs. And I was just talking to him about stuff, and I was like, hey, if you want to handle that disciplinary issue real quick, I'll be back. And he's like, no, he's fine. I was like, okay, cool. I guarantee you that day that kid did 200 up downs.
100%. And I know exactly who you're talking about because I was there.
I'm like, are you sure, Coach? No, he's good. Keep going. I
do want to say this about Coach Smith. I wouldn't have this job if it weren't for him. He's the one that called me and said, hey, go right now up there and talk to this person.
Right.
Yes, sir. And
Well, one of the best people in the world is Nigel Smith. 100%. He's one of the best ones. Okay, your nickname is Chelsea. We need to dive into that for a second. Tell us why your nickname is Chelsea.
So I have a sister named Chelsea.
Oh, that's weird.
Who she looks a lot like me.
Okay.
I don't look like her.
All right.
And she had all my coaches in middle school before I did. Mm-hmm. She's older than me, and so we looked alike, and so everybody called me Chelsea. And there are still kids or people to this day that didn't know that my name was not Chelsea throughout high school. They thought that was my name.
Never corrected them.
I didn't care.
You're like, hey man, my name's Chris.
I just would roll with it. I didn't care. I was about me right there. I ain't worried about it. Like, you can call me whatever you want, and I'm just gonna go do what I got to do.
Is that Chelsea with an A or Chelsea with a Y?
An A.
See, my sister's name is Chelsea, but it's with a Y. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I would not have went with that nickname. So you're a bigger man than I am.
Multiple. I had a whole bunch of nicknames.
Well, let's hear one.
Coach Smith called me delicious.
Okay, that's a little odd.
It is really odd. It's very weird.
Yeah.
Phelpsy, obviously. When I was, I got in a car accident with a police officer.
Oh, wow.
When I was a sophomore in high school. I just got my license not too long before this, and they called me cop killer for a little while.
Oh, my God.
It was really bad.
Oh, my gosh.
It was really bad. Yeah, that's the only ones I'm going to say.
Well, I had an older brother, so they called me Little Nally. That was about it. Then when my brother graduated, they just called me Nally. That was kind of my only nicknames. I really wanted a nickname, though. I wanted to give my kids nicknames. I gave them all nicknames, never stuck. Yeah, so I really, really wanted a nickname really bad. All right, what's it like being a coach here at Melissa?
I think it's challenging in a good way because we have high expectations. We hold the kids to high expectations, but it's challenging because you have to get better. You have to grow. I've not ever been anywhere else, but you can see examples of other coaches that they're not trying to learn and grow, and it's reflective on their seasons potentially. And yeah, it has to do with talent. Don't get me wrong, but coaching in Melissa, like you are held to a standard that's different. We not just coaching, teaching. You're held to a different standard, and it makes you better. You don't have a choice. If you don't get better, you won't be here.
Right.
And and that holds true in my opinion. And I feel like I've been an example of that because from year one to now, this is my 7th year in the profession. Like I've completely changed, not just as a teacher and coach, but as a person to be better all around. I mean, you don't have a choice here. That's what they expect of you. Day in and day out.
But you know what? You talk about expectations, but you can really talk about just for me when when people ask me that, it's really the standard of who you want to be. And yeah, they have expectations. The expectations high, but you're the only one that can really firmly reach that expectation. But realistically, like I like to think of it as my own standard, and I want to reach that standard, get past that standard, reset that standard every day. So, but dang right, you're right. All right, you're the running back coach here at Melissa. So speaking of running backs, who's the greatest NFL running back of all time?
Barry Sanders.
All right, I totally agree with that statement, but let's go. Let's hear why.
I mean, come on now.
We're in Texas, bro. You know how many times that I've heard Emmitt Smith's the greatest running back of all time?
My favorite was Emmitt Smith. I wore 22 growing up for Emmitt Smith. But he had the best O-line there ever was.
The best offensive line ever.
You give Barry Sanders that O-line, he might still be running it right now.
Right. I hope that I'm in this group chat, and it's me and every Dallas Cowboy maniac fan I know.
I'm in it.
Oh, you're in it. Awesome. Okay. So this is something that's a touchy subject to all Dallas Cowboy fans, but it's the truth. I hope they're listening to it right now. Okay. Emmitt Smith is one of the greatest.
Yeah.
He's one of the greatest, not the greatest.
No.
The greatest is Barry Sanders. Is 100%. And there's probably going to be some negative emails come my way and Mr. Kramen's way from this answer right now. But Barry Sanders is the greatest because he potentially had Chris Phelps and Matt Nally blocking for him.
No, he did.
And he's rushing for insane amount of yards, where Emmitt has 5 Mack trucks blocking for him. And him obviously having all that success, but you can see I'm getting passionate, Coach, because it's a big deal.
I've seen 7th grade O lines be better than that Detroit Lions offensive line. I mean that what he did with those for 10 years,
man, insane. Insane.
It doesn't even make sense.
No, man, Barry's the dude, and if you don't believe that, the film doesn't lie. What do we say? The big eye in the sky don't lie. Mm-hmm. Talking about film. Come on, guys, come on. All right. You and Coach Metter have known each other for a long time. I think of y'all like the Walter Matthau character and the Jack Lemmon character and the odd couple. Y'all love each other, but y'all get into some epic arguments. What are some of your favorite memories of you and Coach Metter as a kid?
Okay, so this is gonna be fun. So I'm gonna get whooped for this one. So he when we were little kids, you know, he's a bigger guy.
Yeah.
If nobody knows, he's a little bigger.
Yeah.
When we were little kids, we grew up 5 years old all the way to now. He hated running, as most bigger kids
Heck yeah.
hate.
Yeah.
So we had a hill outside our practice field out where we'd do Pee Wee football, and he would cry every day that we had to run that hill and whine, and we always were like, let's just go, let's go, and we just knew he was gonna cry. And another one, I mean, just another good memory that I'll never forget. I'd never experienced. We were 10 years old, and I'd never experienced snoring before. Like not being able to sleep because somebody snores. We're 10.
Yeah.
And I'm staying the night at his house, and we we're sleeping in the living room on the floor, and he goes to sleep, and I tell you what, I stared at the ceiling the entire. I don't think I slept. And I had to ask my dad, like, what is that all about? Like, how does that even work?
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever experienced snoring, and I'll never forget that either about Coach Meder. And I don't understand that.
So my youngest son plays O-line, D-line, and he made the greatest point the other day. After practice, they have to run half-gassers. Mm-hmm. And he was like, Dad, like, my coach is not a smart guy. And I'm like, hey, bro, pump the brakes. We're not going to talk about your coach that way. And he goes, but I just want you to think about it. All these skill kids, I get it. They need to sprint and they need to do all this stuff, like sprint 40 yards, 50 yards, whatever. I'm a lineman. If I'm chasing somebody 40 or 50 yards down the field, it's a touchdown. I need to do my sprints about in 5 yards. And I thought, dang, it's kind of a good idea.
I don't disagree with him.
He's 10. That's what tripped me out about it. So, but yeah. So maybe Coach Meder was onto something back in those
100%.
days.
We did some crazy stuff back then. We did sled push. We were doing some crazy stuff, but yeah, he was onto something for sure. All
right, so this is a coach's selection. So this is a new piece I'm doing on the Dang Right when I got a coach on the podcast. This is a coach's selection question. Coach Phelps, how did you get 2 Cardinals picked off in the playoff series as the first base coach?
I know who asked this.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't want to blame kids.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you've coached first base before.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can yell back all you want, but if the kid don't react,
go back.
it don't matter.
Right.
I'll wear it. It's my job, I guess. You're supposed to yell back, but in defense of myself, yes, I will defend myself against this kid. I did tell them to look at the pitcher, and they're staring at probably the slowest human being in the world at second base, and I just kept going. I don't even know what he was doing. But the second part of this is after one of them, a kid stole, and he said that I told him to go, which I wouldn't have told him to go, but which is what it is. It happens. It's kids, but the one, it was first base. It was first and second, so that one I get. That one's kind of, dude, what are you doing as the first base coach over there? Coach Hamilton proceeds to kick a bucket at me.
That's what I heard.
In a full-on rage.
That's what I heard, yeah.
We're up like 11-0 in the 5th inning or 4th inning or something like that. We're about to run rule them. And, he goes full crazy on me. I know that he's probably the one that asked that. If he didn't, he may have told somebody to.
No, it was him. But I'll be honest with you, like he wanted that question asked, but the entire coaching staff was like, yeah, we want to know the answer to that question. Yeah. So let's get deeper into that. Like in a playoff series, 2 Cardinals picked off, it's Chris Phelps' fault. Yeah, so
it's fine. You got to wear it. That's what you got to do in the moment, right? I called the pitches, so anytime we give up a run, that's got to be on me. Yeah. But I will point out that we left 11 on base, and he was the hitting coach. And it was 11 on base. It's the first game of the series, and we lose. I believe we lost 6-4 to the team that ended up winning state. And we left 11 on base, and we had second and third with less than 2 outs, I think twice, and we couldn't figure out how to hit.
I'm so glad you're saying this. So glad you're saying this right now.
That he needs to come back and try to answer to that.
Oh, I'm gonna bring it
as
up
the
to him
hitting
today.
coach.
I'm gonna bring it up today
As the hitting coach. So I mean, that's something that we could talk about. But I mean, in the moment, obviously, yes, you got to do your job as first base coach. People are supposed to stay on base, obviously, but I mean, the kick in the bucket's a little over the top. I mean, that was my wife was right there too. I mean, and his wife was too. They were just sitting there and watching it, and he lost his mind. And I guess that's why he and I have a different relationship now. Just as, I mean, I talk back to him. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, you got in this profession to be a head baseball coach.
I did.
I was a head baseball coach for many years, and I mean, I'll be honest with you, Coach, I've kicked a few buckets in my day. You know, I'm sure that, you know, as the pitching coach and, you know, the first base coach and things like that, you've kicked a few buckets in those days, but it's still embarrassing.
I haven't kicked a bucket.
You haven't kicked a bucket?
I kept my composure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're taking shots at Hammy, and then I just admitted in front of everybody I've kicked some buckets.
Yeah, 100%. No, I'm taking a shot. I mean, what do we teach the kids, right? I mean,
it's true. There you go, man. Teaching it or allowing it.
Yeah, exactly. So
Dang
I believe
dude.
That you said that to me earlier this week.
You're right. You are correct. All right. You've been here for a while. Who are some of the great Cardinals that come through here that you think about, that have come through here that you think about?
Man, let's take it back. I mean, my first year I was just, my head was spinning. So I didn't know a ton of the kids. But, I mean, obviously Jabari Young comes to mind, Brendan Lewis, those guys. Yeah. Wilkie, who we're on staff with.
Yeah, the Wilkie.
I mean, those kids were closer to my age than I was to most of the coaches.
Right.
So it was really it was a cool experience. A lot of learning for me to do, but I think of PJ Parker Jack.
Yeah, Parker Jack. Heck yeah, man.
Dalton and Colton Whitwer.
Oh, the Whitwer boys. Yeah,
Whitwer was my quarterback in 8th grade for my first year.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Casano.
Yeah. You know what? I want to say something about Casano real quick before you move on. To me, he was the most underrated football player and the most underrated baseball player that we've ever had. Or at least I've been here the last 10 years. You know, when you needed a hit, Casano got up there and delivered. When you needed a big catch, he was the kid that delivered. So that's a great answer.
He was in the shadows, man, and I love his demeanor was.
Yeah.
I mean, you never knew if he could have had the worst day in the world. He could have won $1 million, and you never know it.
Yeah.
And
fireman now.
Yeah, he is a fireman.
Yeah.
I did know that. I think of obviously I take it back to last year or before last year actually. I'm going to go to Braden Smith.
Yeah,
I got real close
kid.
with him because he was hurt and I ran the hurt kids in the weight room. I did the stuff in the weight room with them and got real close with him. I think obviously last year that running back room, those three kids, Adejokin, Betts, and Bishop, I got to shout them out.
Heck yeah, man. His dad, Nate's dad, sent me pictures of Nate today in his army stuff.
Oh,
so
man, there's so many great kids that you could sit here and go on and on all day long about it. There's a ton that come to mind that even in baseball. But I mean, just to be able to say that it's not even about them going on and playing college sports, just how they've. I mean, Wilkie's an example of the success level that Melissa can give you.
Right.
And so now to be, just going back to Wilkie, just being able to work with him now, it's great. Like that's got to be similar to Coach Smith with us. I mean, it's weird, but it's awesome.
You know, the thing is about Wilkie is, I was talking to Coach Pickup about it the other day. Is like, golly, Wilkie he is definitely out of his shell. Like he was out of his shell in high school.
Oh yeah.
But now he's like, out of his shell. And Coach Pickup was like, yeah, I'm fixing to have to say, hey man, I'm the assistant head coach. You need to shut your mouth. But we had practice the other day. You were there, and I got a great Wilkie story. We were running gas or half gassers, and I let the kicker, if he kicked it, it would be over with.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he kicked it, and it was done. It was over with. Boy, Wilkie let me have it. Because when Wilkie was here, we ran 16 40s on Monday. We ran 5 gassers on Tuesday, and then we put everyone in the program pushed the sled on Wednesday. And boy, Wilkie just came up to me with fury in his eyes.
Oh, I know. Yeah. We for some reason that year we were brave enough to run with the kids.
Oh, yeah,
each day,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then push the sled when they
Yeah,
got
oh my
tired.
gosh.
It was rough, but yeah.
Okay. The offensive staff settles disputes with each other in the mat room on Saturday or Sunday afternoons. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. If you had to pick an opponent on the coaching staff that you had to wrestle with and make sure you got the dub, like this 100% a dub, who would you pick and why?
I'm picking you
Okay. Well, why?
because
Is it because my arm's beat up?
no. Forget your arm.
Okay.
You could
So
can have-
100% prime Nally.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
Okay, all right,
100%
all right.
prime Phelps. That's
Okay,
fine. We can
all
do
right.
that because I think that I think you'll start laughing. I think you'll laugh, and I'll actually take it serious, and I'll beat you for sure.
Well, I don't know. Like for me, it's easy for me to say Dixon. You know, it's easy for me to say that, you know. And on this podcast before, I've said that about Dixon. But, you know, as we have gotten to know each other better and better and better, I don't know if I'd pick Dixon anymore.
He's got a little. I mean,
Yeah.
he might flip a switch.
There's a Dexter quality in him that people don't know about.
I'm thinking about other coaches that. I mean, obviously, I'm 0 for 11 against Metter. That's not happening because we wrestled every Sunday,
Right.
And that was not a good image to look at. And I'm trying to think of.
I would want a challenge. Like, I know you have to get the dub.
Yeah.
But if hey, now you get like 2 or 3 months to train, you know, who are you picking? I'll be like, man, I want a kind of a challenge. So like maybe Nicky Gonzalez.
I don't know, man.
He would destroy me, but I would still that's a challenge.
I would pick Joey Majors.
Okay, I got you.
I like that one. That's a dub for sure. I'm going with that. You can't say Coach P. That's elder abuse.
No, but I'm going to tell you this. I watched him in PE last year, and he did an unbelievable job coaching high school PE last year. But I'm going to tell you something. That man is the most flexible, the most athletic 62-year-old man, or 64. I can't remember if he's 62 or 64-year-old man I've ever seen.
You can't. I don't doubt it because he was out there stretching before practice out on the field. I didn't know who it was, and he's out there doing
dude.
all kinds of stuff. And I don't know. I'd probably go with Joey.
So, well, Coach, that's our 30 minutes, man. Well, I want to thank Coach Chris Phelps today for spending some time with us on the podcast. Coach Phelps, is there anything else you'd like to add or any final thoughts you'd like to share with our listeners before we conclude?
No, just thank you for having me. It was awesome. This is fun. I like doing this.
Man. Dang right. You ain't lying, dude. I like it too. Thank you for listening to the Dang Right podcast with Coach Nally. Thank you to our guest, Coach Phelps, and thank you again to Mr. Kramen and his students for putting on this podcast. Have a great week, and it's always a great day to be a Cardinal.
Thank you.